The whole town blamed the single mom for every disaster, called her cursed, crossed the street to avoid her. Then masked men tried to grab her son in broad daylight. What she didn't know, the Mafia boss who stopped them had been watching over her for 6 years. And that kiss on her cheek in front of everyone? That changed everything. The roses were perfect. Arya stepped back from the display window, wiping sweat from her forehead. Outside, Market Street buzzed with festival preparations, vendors hanging lanterns, musicians tuning instruments, children racing between stalls. Her small flower shop, tucked between a bakery and an antique store, finally had a chance to shine. "Mommy, can I help?" 6-year-old Liam tugged her apron, his green eyes bright with excitement. "Sure, baby. Arrange these daisies in the blue vases." Arya handed him the flowers, her heart squeezing. The rent was 3 weeks overdue. Today's festival could save them, or they'd be homeless by Monday. Her phone buzzed. Another text from Mrs. Chun, the landlord.
Arya, I'm sorry.
Other tenants are complaining again. They say bad things happen when you're around. Please understand. Arya's hands trembled. Bad things. Always bad things. Last month, the restaurant where she waitressed burned down. Faulty wiring, they said, but everyone remembered Arya was working that night. Before that, the grocery store's freezer exploded during her shift. And before that, the daycare where Liam stayed had a sudden mold infestation the week after he enrolled. The town called her cursed. A jinx,
Whispered when she passed.
but she wasn't cursed.
She couldn't be.
"Mommy, people are coming." Liam pressed his nose against the window. Customers flooded in, more than Arya had seen in months. Her chest loosened. Maybe things were changing. Maybe. The lights flickered.
Arya froze. No.
Not now. The overhead bulbs buzzed violently. Sparks erupted from the ceiling fixture, and before Arya could move, flames crawled across the wooden rafters like hungry serpents. "Fire!" someone screamed. Chaos exploded. Customers stampeded toward the exit, knocking over vases and displays. Smoke filled the room, thick and choking. Liam.
Arya spun wildly.
He'd been right beside her. Where was he? "Mommy." His voice came from near the back storage room. She pushed through the smoke, coughing, eyes burning. "Liam, stay where you are. I'm coming." But when she reached the storage room, he was gone. The back door hung open. Arya's blood turned to ice. Liam never opened that door. He was afraid of the alley. She burst outside into the narrow passage behind the shops. Smoke poured from the building, and festival-goers crowded the street entrance, shouting and pointing. "Liam!" Her scream ripped through her throat. Then she saw them. 2 men in black ski masks, dragging Liam toward a white van parked at the alley's far end. Her son kicked and thrashed. "Mommy! Help!" Arya didn't think. She ran. "Let him go." She crashed into the first man, clawing at his face. He shoved her hard against the brick wall. Pain exploded through her shoulder. "Stay down, lady," the second man growled, tightening his grip on Liam.
No.
Arya launched herself again, but the first man grabbed her hair, yanking her back. Then a sound like thunder. A black armored car screeched into the alley, tires smoking. It stopped so fast the van's side mirror shattered from the impact. The car door opened. A man stepped out.
Tall.
Broad-shouldered. Dressed in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Arya's yearly income. His dark hair was swept back, revealing a face carved from stone. Sharp jaw, cold gray eyes that held no mercy. The kidnappers released Liam and Arya immediately. "Mr. Moretti, we didn't know." "Shut up," his voice was quiet. "Lethal." Dante Moretti moved like a predator. In 3 strides, he reached the first man and grabbed his wrist, twisting it with a sickening crack. The man screamed and dropped to his knees. The second man pulled a gun. Dante was faster. He disarmed him with brutal efficiency, slamming him face-first into the van's side. The gun clattered across the pavement. The entire sequence took maybe 10 seconds. Arya grabbed Liam and pulled him close, her whole body shaking. Who was this man? Dante turned to her. For a moment, those cold gray eyes softened. Just slightly. Then he walked toward her. Aria's breath caught. The town's festival crowd had gathered at the alley entrance, drawn by the commotion. Dozens of faces stared. Phones raised, recording. Dante Moretti stopped inches from Aria and kissed her cheek. Not a quick peck. A deliberate, gentle kiss that lasted 3 full seconds. His hand cupped the back of her head protectively, shielding her and Liam from the crowd's view. When he pulled back, his voice carried clearly across the silent alley. "No one touches what's under my protection." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Aria's mind reeled. Moretti. She knew that name. Everyone on the coast knew that name. The Moretti family controlled half the eastern seaboard's underground operations. They were feared, untouchable. And this man, this terrifying, powerful man, just claimed her publicly. "Who?" Aria's voice cracked. "Who are you?" Dante's expression remained unreadable. "Someone who owes you a debt." He glanced at Liam, and something almost like pain flickered across his face. "Someone who should have protected you years ago." Behind them, sirens wailed. Police. Fire trucks. Ambulances. The kidnapping attempt would be on every news channel by evening. The fire would be blamed on her. The 5th disaster this month. But none of that mattered now. Because Dante Moretti had just kissed the town Jinx in front of everyone. And in this world, that meant something. Aria looked up at him, dozens of questions burning in her throat. But only one came out. "Why?" Dante's jaw tightened. "Because my brother died believing I'd keep you safe. And I failed him once already." Then he turned to his men emerging from the armored car. "Take them to the hospital. Full security detail. No one gets close." "Wait," Aria started. But Dante was already walking away, phone pressed to his ear, barking orders in a language she didn't understand. Liam tugged her sleeve. "Mommy, who's that man?" Aria watched Dante's car disappear around the corner, her cheeks still warm where his lips had touched. "I don't know, baby," she whispered. "But I think everything just changed." The hospital waiting room smelled like antiseptic and fear. Aria sat rigid in the plastic chair, Liam curled against her side, his small body finally still after the chaos. Around them, nurses whispered. Security guards stood at every entrance, not hospital security. These men wore expensive suits and earpieces, their eyes constantly scanning. Dante Moretti's men. "Miss Chun." A young doctor approached, clipboard in hand. "Your son is perfectly healthy. Just some minor smoke inhalation. We'd like to keep you both for observation, but..." "We're fine," Arya stood abruptly. "We need to leave." The doctor blinked. "Ma'am, I really think..." "She stays." Everyone turned. Dante stood in the doorway, somehow larger than the space allowed. He'd removed his jacket, and his white shirt was rolled to the elbows, revealing forearms corded with muscle and marked with scars. His presence sucked the air from the room. The doctor paled. "Mr. Moretti." "Of course. Whatever you think is best." He scurried away. Aria's hands clenched. "You don't get to decide what's best for us. Those men try to kidnap your son." Dante's voice was flat. "They'll try again. You're staying where I can protect you." "Why?" Aria stepped forward, anger overriding fear. "You said you owed someone a debt." "What debt?" "I've never met you before in my life." Dante's expression didn't change, but something shifted behind his eyes. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a photograph, old, creased, stained with something dark. Blood. Aria realized with a jolt. He handed it to her. The photo showed a man in his early 30s, dark-haired like Dante but with warmer eyes. He was smiling despite obvious pain, one hand pressed against a bandaged shoulder. In his other hand, he held a smaller picture. Aria's breath stopped. The smaller picture was of her. Younger, maybe 23, wearing hospital scrubs, laughing at something off-camera. "That's..." Her voice failed. "My brother." Angelo. Dante's jaw worked. Taken 6 years ago, 3 hours before he died. The room tilted. Aria grabbed the chair for support. 6 years ago. She'd been working night shifts at St. Mary's Hospital, trying to finish nursing school while pregnant with Liam. There'd been an emergency one night. A man with a gunshot wound, bleeding out, refused to give his name. She'd treated him. Saved his life, the attending surgeon had said. But she'd never seen him again. Angelo was shot during a territorial dispute, Dante continued, his voice carefully controlled. He refused to go to our family doctors. Said he wanted to die somewhere clean. Somewhere good. His gray eyes locked onto Aria's. You gave him 6 more hours. Comfortable hours. You talked to him. Made him laugh. He said you were kind. Tears burned Aria's eyes. I didn't know. He made me promise. Dante took the photo back, staring at it. Said if anything happened to him, I should watch over the nurse with a sad smile. The one who is too good for this world. His fingers traced the image. I tried. I had men check on you occasionally. But I should have done more. The accidents, Aria whispered. The fires, the explosions, those weren't accidents, were they? No, Dante's expression hardened. Someone's been targeting you. Making it look like bad luck so no one would investigate. He crouched down to Liam's level. And now they're after your son. Do you know why? Liam pressed closer to Aria, frightened. I don't. Aria's mind raced. I don't have anything. No money, no secrets, nothing worth. Your husband. Dante stood. Tell me about him. The room went cold. Marcus died 4 years ago, Aria said carefully.
Car accident.
What does he have to do with this? Maybe everything. Dante pulled out his phone, showing her a document covered in official stamps. I had my people look into it after today. Your husband's car crash? The brake lines were cut. It was murder, Aria. Professional work. The floor disappeared beneath her feet.
No.
They said it was mechanical failure. They lied. Dante's voice gentled slightly.
Someone wanted him dead.
And I think they've been watching you ever since. Waiting for something. Waiting for what? Aria's voice rose.
I'm nobody.
I work minimum wage jobs. I can barely pay rent. Mommy, Liam tugged her shirt. The bad men said something. Both adults froze. What did they say, sweetheart? Aria knelt beside him. Liam's lower lip trembled. They said I have something that belongs to them. Something Daddy left me. His eyes filled with tears. But Daddy didn't leave me anything except my music box. Dante and Aria locked eyes. The music box, Dante said quietly. Where is it? At home. In his room. But it's just a toy. Dante was already moving toward the door. Phone to his ear. Get a team to her apartment.
Now.
Secure anything the boy owns. Especially a music box. He turned back, and for the first time, Aria saw something like sympathy in those cold gray eyes. You're not cursed, Aria. You're a target. And whoever's hunting you just showed their hand. Midnight had turned the hospital into a tomb of fluorescent lights and echoing footsteps. Aria couldn't sleep. How could she? Her entire life had just been revealed as a lie. Every tragedy, every whispered curse, every moment of isolation had been manufactured. Someone had spent years destroying her reputation, her livelihood, her sanity. And Marcus. Sweet, quiet Marcus who'd loved old movies and made terrible pancakes. Murdered. She slipped out of the private room where Liam slept, guards posted outside. The hallway stretched empty, except for one figure leaning against the far window.
Dante.
He hadn't left. 6 hours, and he'd stayed, making calls, coordinating, protecting. You should rest, he said without turning. So should you, Aria approached cautiously. Up close, she could see the exhaustion carved into his face. When did you last sleep? Sleep is a luxury I stopped affording years ago. He finally looked at her. My men secured your apartment. The music box is in transit. I still don't understand what Marcus could have hidden. He was an accountant. Boring spreadsheets and tax returns. That was his world. Accountants see things. Dante's expression darkened. Money trails. Transactions. Numbers that don't add up. He pulled out another photograph from his jacket. This one more recent. Do you know this man? Aria studied the picture. Middle-aged, Sharp suit, cold smile.
No.
Should I?
Viktor Veshtsari.
Head of the Vescary Syndicate, Dante's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. They run weapons, drugs, human trafficking. And 6 years ago, my brother was investigating them. The pieces started clicking together in Aria's mind, each one more horrifying than the last. Angelo didn't just stumble into your hospital with a gunshot wound, Dante continued. He was running from them. He'd gotten too close to something big, proof of their operations that could bring down their entire network. His jaw clenched. They killed him before he could deliver it. And you think Marcus found this proof? I think Angelo hid it somewhere he thought was safe. Somewhere the Vescary wouldn't look. Dante turned to face her fully. 3 months after Angelo died, your husband started working for a financial firm that, according to my sources, had connections to Vescary's money laundering operations. Marcus might have stumbled onto the same evidence. Aria's legs went weak. She gripped the windowsill. That's why they killed him.
Yes.
But they didn't find what they were looking for. Dante's eyes bore into hers. Which means Marcus hid it before they got to him. And a dying man doesn't hide his secrets somewhere obvious. He hides them with the person he trusts most. Liam. The word came out broken. He gave it to Liam. A phone buzzed. Dante answered immediately. Talk. Aria watched his expression shift, surprise, then something darker. He ended the call. The music box is here. My men are bringing it up, he hesitated. There's something else. They found devices in your apartment. Listening equipment. Cameras. You've been under surveillance for at least 2 years. Bile rose in Aria's throat. 2 years of being watched. Every moment, every conversation with Liam, every private pain, witnessed by the people who'd murder her husband. I'm going to be sick. Dante caught her arm, steadying her. His touch was surprisingly gentle for someone so dangerous. Breathe, he commanded softly. You're stronger than you know. You've survived years of systematic torture designed to break you. You're still standing. I don't feel strong. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I feel like a fool. All those people calling me cursed, and I just accepted it. I started believing maybe I was the problem. That's what they wanted. Dante's grip tightened slightly. Isolated people don't ask questions. Broken people don't fight back. The elevator chimed. 2 of Dante's men emerged carrying a small box. They handed it to their boss and disappeared without a word. Dante set the box on the window ledge, a simple wooden music box painted with faded circus animals. Liam's most treasured possession. Aria's hands shook as she opened it. The familiar lullaby tinkled out, tinny and sweet. Inside, a tiny clown figurine spun slowly. Nothing unusual. Just a child's toy. There's nothing. Wait. Dante examined the box closely, running his fingers along the edges. The weight's wrong. It's too heavy. He pressed something on the base. A hidden compartment clicked open. Inside lay a small USB drive wrapped in a note. Marcus's handwriting. For Liam, when he's old enough to understand. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you both. But this can stop them. Give it to someone brave enough to fight. Aria's vision blurred. Marcus had known. He'd known he was going to die. Dante held up the USB drive, his expression unreadable. This is what they've been searching for. What they've destroyed your life trying to find. What do we do? For the first time, something like respect flickered across Dante's face. We finish what my brother and your husband started. He pocketed the drive. We burn the Vescary Syndicate to the ground. Morning light brought no comfort. Aria stood in the hospital lobby, phone pressed to her ear, listening to Mrs. Chen's apologetic but firm voice.
I'm so sorry, Aria.
But after yesterday, the fire, the news coverage, those men with guns, the other tenants held an emergency meeting. They want you out. Today. Mrs. Chen, please. I have nowhere to go. Just give me a few days. They're threatening to call Child Protective Services. The landlord's voice cracked. They're saying Liam isn't safe with you. That you attract danger. I can't risk the liability. The line went dead. Aria lowered the phone, numb. Around her, people whispered and stared. Her face had been all over the news. The town Jinx kissed by a Mafia boss, kidnapping attempt, fire. She'd become a spectacle. Mommy, are we going home? Liam tugged her hand, still wearing the hospital's courtesy pajamas. Her voice failed. Soon, baby. A nurse approached, sympathy in her eyes. Ms. Chen, there's a situation. Your landlord had your belongings moved to the building's lobby. She said you can collect them before noon. Aria's stomach dropped. She threw out our things.
I'm sorry.
Also, there are reporters outside asking for interviews.
Perfect.
Homeless and hunted, with cameras ready to document every moment of her humiliation. Dante appeared from the corridor, 2 of his men flanking him. He took one look at Aria's face and knew. What happened? We're evicted. Aria straightened her spine, refusing to cry. Not here. Not in front of him. It's fine. We'll manage. No, Dante pulled out his phone. You'll stay at my estate until this is resolved. Absolutely not. Aria's hands clenched. I don't need your charity.
I don't need you fixing my life. Eve handled vers.
Have you handled assassins? Dante's voice cut like glass. Because that's what's coming. The Vescari know we have the drive-by now. They'll escalate. Then I'll go to the police. The police can't protect you. He stepped closer, voice dropping. 3 officers in this county are on Vescari's payroll. 2 judges. A district attorney, his gray eyes bore into hers. Your husband tried the legal route. How did that work out? The words hit like a slap. Aria's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. We know what you have. Give it back and the boy lives. Refuse and watch him die slowly. Attached was a photo, Liam's kindergarten classroom. Empty now, but the message was clear. They knew where her son went to school. The phone slipped from her shaking hands. Dante caught it, read the message, and his expression turned lethal. He showed it to one of his men. Trace this. And put security on every school, park, and playground in a 50-mile radius. Yes, sir. Aria couldn't breathe. The walls were closing in. Years of surviving, of pushing through every disaster with gritted teeth and determination, and now she couldn't even keep her son safe in a classroom. Mommy? Liam's voice was small, frightened. He'd seen her face. She knelt down, pulling him close. It's okay, baby. Everything's okay. But it wasn't. Nothing was okay. Dante crouched beside them, speaking directly to Liam for the first time. Do you like swimming? Liam blinked, confused by the question. Yes. My house has a big pool. And a garden with a treehouse. Dante's voice softened in a way Aria hadn't heard before. You'd be safe there. With guards who make sure nothing bad happens. Like superheroes? Liam's eyes widened. Exactly like that. Liam looked up at Aria hopefully. Can we, Mommy? Please.
Aria met Dante's gaze.
She saw the calculation there. He deliberately appealed to Liam, knowing she couldn't refuse if her son wanted it. Manipulative. Strategic. Also effective. Fine, the word tasted like defeat. But this is temporary. And we're not prisoners. Your guests, Dante corrected, standing. Free to leave whenever you choose, he paused. Though I'd strongly recommend against it. His men brought clothes, somehow perfectly sized for both her and Liam. Of course Dante had thought of everything. As they prepared to leave, a hospital security guard approached. Miss Chen, these were delivered for you this morning. He held out a bouquet of white lilies. Funeral flowers. Aria's blood turned cold. Dante took the flowers, examining them. Tucked between the stems was a card with just 2 words. Soon, Jinx. He crushed the card in his fist. Get them to the car.
Now.
As they rushed through the hospital's back exit toward the waiting armored vehicle, Aria glanced back at the building. Standing in a 3rd-floor window was a figure in a dark coat, watching. Even from this distance, she could feel his smile. The Vescari had been here. In the hospital. Close enough to touch them. Dante was right. There was nowhere safe except behind his walls. She climbed into the car. Liam pressed against her side and let Dante Moretti carry them away into his dangerous world. because her world had just become infinitely more dangerous. The coastal estate rose from the cliffs like something out of a dark fairy tale. Arya pressed her face to the car window as they approached. High stone walls topped with cameras, iron gates that opened silently at their arrival, and beyond, a sprawling mansion of white stone and dark wood, perched where land met sea. Whoa, Liam's nose smudged the glass. It's a castle. It's a fortress, Dante corrected from the front seat. 24-hour surveillance, armed guards at every entrance, safe rooms with independent power sources. He glanced back at Arya. No one gets in without my knowledge. The car stopped in a circular driveway with a fountain at its center, bronze dolphins frozen mid-leap. As they stepped out, the sea breeze carried salt and freedom. For a moment, Arya could almost forget they were running for their lives. Almost. A woman in her 60s emerged from the main entrance, silver hair pinned back, wearing a practical dress and a warm smile that seemed out of place in this cold world. "This is Rosa," Dante said. "She runs the household. Anything you need, ask her." Rosa's eyes softened when she saw Liam.
Oh, piccolo. Come.
"I have cookies fresh from the oven, and your room has toys waiting." Liam looked to Arya for permission. She nodded, and he bounded after Rosa like he hadn't just survived a kidnapping attempt yesterday. Alone with Dante, the weight of the situation crashed back down. "How long will we be here?" Arya asked. "As long as it takes." Dante led her through the entrance hall. Marble floors, vaulted ceilings, artwork that probably cost more than every place she'd ever lived combined. "The Vescary won't stop. Not until they recover what your husband took or eliminate everyone who knows about it." "Then give them the drive. Let this be over." Dante stopped walking. "That drive contains evidence of weapons deals with terrorist organizations, human trafficking routes, and financial records linking the Vescary to 3 senators and a federal judge." His voice was steel. "Giving it back means those crimes continue. More people die. Your husband and my brother died for nothing." Guilt twisted in Arya's chest. "I didn't ask for any of this." "Neither did they." Dante's expression softened slightly. "But we're here now, and I intend to finish what they started." He showed her to a suite on the second floor, bedroom, bathroom, sitting area with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the ocean. It was bigger than her entire apartment had been. "Liam's room is next door. Rosa will help him settle in." Dante paused at the threshold. "There are guards outside and cameras in the hallways, but not in your rooms. You have privacy here. Why are you doing this?" The question burst out before Arya could stop it. "Really doing this? A deathbed promise to your brother doesn't explain all this effort, all these resources." Dante was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the gray sea. "Angelo was the good one," he said finally. "He saw the family business for what it was and wanted out. Wanted to make things right." His jaw clenched. "I tried to protect him by keeping him close, but I should have helped him escape instead. He died because I chose power over his freedom." "That's not your fault, isn't it?" Dante turned, and for the first time, Arya saw past the cold exterior to the guilt underneath. "I built this empire on violence and fear. Angelo paid the price. And now you and your son are paying it too, because I failed to dismantle the Vescary when I had the chance." Before Arya could respond, Liam's laughter echoed from somewhere below, pure and bright and so jarringly normal it hurt. Dante's expression shifted. "He sounds like Angelo did. Before everything." "He's a good kid," Arya said softly. "Despite everything, he still believes the world is mostly good." "Then we make sure he keeps believing that." Dante headed for the door. "Dinner is at 7. Rosa's cooking will make you forget hospital food exists." "Dante," he stopped. "Thank you for keeping us alive." He nodded once, then disappeared into the corridor. Arya explored the suite, touching the soft fabrics, the polished wood, the luxury she'd only ever seen in magazines. A wardrobe held new clothes, again, perfectly sized. How had he managed that? Through the window, she watched Liam in the garden below, running between topiaries while Rosa followed at a distance, smiling. 2 guards stood nearby, vigilant but unobtrusive. This place was beautiful.
Safe.
Everything she'd wanted to provide for Liam and never could. It was also a gilded cage. Her phone buzzed. She'd forgotten she even had it. Another unknown number. Fancy prison, Jinx. But prisons don't protect forever. Tick-tock. Aria's hands trembled. She showed the message to the nearest guard, who immediately radioed Dante. Within minutes, Dante was back, examining her phone with cold fury. They're trying to break you psychologically before they strike physically. He crushed the phone in his hand, literally crushed it, and handed her a new one. This is encrypted. Only 3 numbers, mine, Rosa's, and the security desk. They're watching us even here, Aria whispered. Let them watch. Dante's smile was predatory. Tomorrow, we start fighting back. Night transformed the mansion into shadows and whispers. Aria couldn't sleep. Every creak of wood, every distant sound sent her heart racing. At 2 a.m., she gave up and wandered downstairs, drawn by a sliver of light beneath a door near the back of the house. The library. Floor-to-ceiling shelves packed with leather-bound books, a fireplace crackling with fresh logs, and Dante sitting in a wingback chair, glass of amber liquid in hand, staring at nothing. Can't sleep either? His voice held no surprise, as if he'd expected her. Every time I close my eyes, I see Marcus's face. Aria stepped inside, wrapping her cardigan tighter. I keep thinking about his last morning. He made pancakes, terrible ones, burnt edges, and raw middles. He kissed me goodbye and said, her voice cracked. He said, "Take care of our boy," like he knew. Dante gestured to the chair opposite him. He probably did. Aria sat, accepting the glass of wine he poured from a nearby bottle. Tell me about Angelo. Really tell me. Dante studied his drink, firelight dancing across his scarred knuckles. He was 3 years younger than me. Smart, genius-level IQ. Father wanted him to run the financial side of the operation, but Angelo hated what we did. The violence. The corruption. He took a long sip. At 25, he told Father he was out. Wanted to become a prosecutor instead. That must have gone well, Aria said dryly. Father disowned him. Said he was dead to the family. Dante's expression hardened. But I stayed in touch. Secretly. Angelo became an investigator for the FBI's Organized Crime Division. Ironic, considering his last name. He was investigating your family?
No.
He drew the line there. Wouldn't work cases involving the Morettis. Dante refilled his glass. But the Vescari were fair game. He spent 2 years building a case against Victor Vescari. Got close. Too close. And they killed him. Shot him in the back outside a coffee shop. Dante's voice went hollow. He crawled 6 blocks before collapsing near your hospital. The bullet missed his heart by inches, but the internal bleeding. Your surgeon said he had maybe an hour. Aria remembered that night in fragments. The blood-soaked man. His dark eyes meeting hers with desperate intensity. The way he'd grabbed her hand when the pain got bad. He talked about you, she said softly. In recovery. Asked if I had family. When I told him I was pregnant, he smiled. Said kids make everything make sense. Dante's jaw worked. He would have been a good uncle. He would have been a good man. He was a good man. They sat in silence, bound by grief, for people who died trying to do the right thing. Marcus knew something was wrong months before he died, Aria said finally. He'd come home late, distracted. Kept checking the windows, jumping at sounds. I thought he was having an affair. He was protecting you. The less you knew, the safer you were. Except I wasn't safe. Bitterness crept into her voice. None of us were. And after he died, when things started happening, the accidents, the fires, I thought I was going crazy. People crossed the street to avoid me. Parents wouldn't let their kids near Liam. I started believing maybe I really was cursed. That was the point. Dante leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Gaslighting on a community scale. Make you doubt reality so you don't question what's happening. Isolate you so you have no allies. His gray eyes locked onto hers. They were softening the target. When they finally came for Liam, you'd have no one to turn to. No one would believe you. The calculated cruelty of it stole Arya's breath. How do people become that evil? Practice, Dante said grimly. And profit. Victor Vescari has built an empire worth billions. He won't let one USB drive destroy it. Arya set down her wine, something occurring to her. You said Angelo hid evidence. But Marcus found it years later. How is that possible? Dante hesitated, then stood and walked to a painting above the fireplace, a coastal scene, deceptively peaceful. He pressed the frame's corner, and the painting swung open to reveal a safe. From inside, he pulled out a worn leather journal. Angelo's notes. Found after his death, Dante opened it to a marked page. He documented everything, including where he hid backup copies of his evidence. Encrypted files in 3 locations. Arya's stomach dropped. Let me guess. One location involved my husband's firm. Marcus was an accountant at Westfield Financial. Angelo had hidden encrypted files in their server, buried in tax records no one would think to check. Dante's expression was grim. Marcus must have found them during a routine audit. Once he accessed them, the Vescari's monitoring systems would have flagged it. So Marcus didn't just stumble onto the evidence. Angelo left him a ticking time bomb. Yes, Dante closed the journal. And the USB drive in Liam's music box? That's not Angelo's original evidence. It's Marcus's copy, probably enhanced with additional financial records he found. Arya stood abruptly, rage flooding through her. So both of them are dead because they tried to do the right thing, and now my son has a target on his back because of evidence he doesn't even understand. Yes. The blunt confirmation hit harder than any lie would have. Then we end this. Arya's voice shook with fury. Tomorrow. We take that drive, and we destroy Victor Vescari. Dante studied her. This woman who'd been beaten down and labeled cursed but was still standing, still fighting. Tomorrow, he agreed. We go to war. Morning sun painted the pool water gold. Arya watched from the terrace as Liam splashed in the shallow end, wearing new swim trunks and a life jacket, squealing with delight. For guards stood at strategic positions around the garden, but they were far enough away to let him feel free. He's resilient. Dante appeared beside her, 2 coffee mugs in hand. He offered her one. He doesn't understand what's happening, Arya said, accepting the coffee. He thinks we're on vacation. Maybe that's better. Let him have a few more days of innocence. They stood in comfortable silence, watching Liam dive for colorful rings Rosa had thrown in the water. I need to tell you something, Dante said quietly. The USB drive, I had my tech team analyze it last night. Arya's stomach tightened. And it's worse than we thought. The files document a weapons deal scheduled for next week. Military-grade explosives being sold to a terrorist cell. If that deal goes through, hundreds of people could die. So we go to the FBI.
Today.
Right now. 3 agents on the Vescari payroll were just reassigned to this case. Dante's expression was stone. Victor knows we have the evidence. He's plugging every legitimate channel we might use. Then what do we do? I have contacts. International authorities Victor hasn't corrupted yet. Dante turned to face her. But it means going public. Your face, your story, everything. The world will know the town Jinx was actually a target of organized crime. Arya thought about the years of whispers, the rejection, the shame she'd carried. Good. Let them know. Let everyone who turned their backs on us know they were wrong. Respect flickered in Dante's eyes. You're stronger than Angelo thought. He'd be impressed. Stop, Arya set down her coffee. Stop making this about redemption for dead men. I'm not doing this for Angelo or Marcus or your guilt. I'm doing this for Liam, so he doesn't grow up running. Fair enough. A splash drew their attention. Liam had climbed out of the pool and was running toward them, dripping and grinning. Dante.
Come swim.
Please. Dante blinked, clearly caught off guard. I don't. Please. Liam's green eyes were huge. Mommy can't swim good, and Rosa says her bones are too old. Arya bit back a smile. You don't have to. Please, Dante. Liam grabbed his hand with wet fingers. You said you'd keep us safe. Heroes swim with kids they protect. That's the rule. Is it? Dante looked genuinely bewildered. This man who commanded criminal empires with a word. Yes, Liam nodded solemnly. It's a very important rule. Arya watched something crack in Dante's carefully constructed armor. He glanced at her, almost helpless.
Go, she said softly.
We have a few hours before the world ends. Let him be 6-inch. 15 minutes later, Dante Moretti, feared Mafia boss, killer, criminal mastermind, stood waist-deep in a swimming pool while a 6-year-old boy climbed onto his shoulders. Okay, now throw me, Liam commanded. Are you sure? Throw me. Dante launched Liam into the air. The boy hit the water with a massive splash and came up laughing, pure joy radiating from him. Again. From the terrace, Arya watched them play, her heart twisting. Liam had never had this, a father figure who engaged with him, who made him feel safe enough to be silly. Marcus had tried, but the last year of his life he'd been distant, distracted by fear. Dante caught her watching and something unguarded crossed his face, longing mixed with grief. After an hour, Rosa brought lunch to the poolside. Liam, exhausted and happy, fell asleep on a lounge chair within minutes. Dante sat beside Arya, still damp, looking more human than she'd ever seen him.
Thank you, she said. He needed that.
So, did I? Dante's voice was rough. I forgot what it feels like to make someone happy without complications. You're good with him. I had a son once. The words came out before he could stop them. Or I would have. 7 years ago. Arya's breath caught. What happened? Her name was Sophia. We weren't married. My life doesn't allow for that.
But she was pregnant, his jaw clenched.
A rival family found out. Thought they could leverage her against me. They took her. By the time I got there. He didn't finish. Didn't need to. Dante, I'm so sorry. I burned their entire operation to the ground. Every member. Every asset. Every trace. His voice was empty. But it didn't bring them back. Nothing brings them back. Arya understood now. The protective fury. The desperate need to save them. The way he looked at Liam like he was something precious and fragile. He asked about you last night, she said softly. Asked if you were going to be his new dad. Dante's eyes closed. What did you tell him? I said you were a friend helping us. But Dante, she hesitated. He's getting attached. When this is over, when we leave. Don't, Dante stood abruptly. Don't think about after. Not yet. He walked to where Liam slept and adjusted the umbrella to keep the sun off the boy's face. The gesture was so tender it made Arya's throat tight. Maybe Dante Moretti wasn't just protecting them out of guilt. Maybe he was protecting the family he'd lost. And maybe, despite everything, that wasn't such a terrible thing. Day 6 dawned gray and tense. The meet is set for noon, Dante said over breakfast, his phone buzzing with constant updates. My contact works for Interpol, completely outside Vescary's reach. Once we hand over the evidence, they'll coordinate a multinational takedown. Arya pushed eggs around her plate, too nervous to eat. Where? Safe house 20 miles north. Remote location, controlled access. He glanced at Liam, who was building a tower from toast. You and Liam stay here with Rosa and half my security team. No, Arya set down her fork. We're coming. Absolutely not. They're after us, Dante. Wherever we are becomes the target. Her voice was steel. At least in your convoy, we have armored cars and trained guards. Here, we're sitting ducks if they decide to hit the mansion. Dante's jaw worked. He knew she was right.
Fine.
But you follow every order I give. No questions. 30 minutes later, they were on the road. 3 black SUVs in formation, Dante's vehicle in the middle with Arya and Liam. The music box sat in a reinforced case on the floor between them. Liam pressed his face to the window, watching trees blur past. Are we going on another adventure? Something like that, baby. Arya stroked his hair, trying to keep her hands from shaking. The highway stretched empty. Too empty. Dante noticed it too. His hand moved to the gun holstered at his side. Something's wrong, he said into his radio. Too quiet. Stay alert. They rounded a bend. and Aria's blood froze. A truck lay sideways across both lanes, completely blocking the road. No drivers visible. No signs of an accident. Trap. Dante shouted. Reverse.
Now.
The convoy screeched into reverse, but behind them, another truck roared out from a hidden side road, boxing them in. Then the shooting started. Bullets hammered the SUV like metal rain. Aria threw herself over Liam, shielding him with her body as he screamed. Stay down, Dante barked. He was on his radio, coordinating, while his driver executed evasive maneuvers in the narrow space. Aria heard crashes. One of their vehicles had been hit. Men were shouting. More gunfire. Through the chaos she saw them. Men in tactical gear emerging from the tree line, at least a dozen weapons raised. We're outnumbered, Dante's lieutenant said through the radio, voice tight. They've got. An explosion cut him off. The lead SUV erupted in flames. Liam was sobbing, hands over his ears. Aria's mind raced. They were going to die here. All of them. And Liam would die terrified, never understanding why.
No.
She'd spent years being a victim, being helpless, letting the world tell her she was cursed and powerless. Not anymore. Dante, her voice cut through the chaos. I was an ER nurse for 3 years. Combat trauma training. I know field medicine. He looked at her like she'd grown a second head. What? Your men are injured. I can help them, she met his eyes. And I know how to handle myself under pressure. Let me do something. Another explosion rocked their vehicle. The back window shattered, safety glass raining down. Dante made a split-second decision. Marco, get them to the defensive position behind the rear vehicle.
Now.
The door flew open. Marco, Dante's head of security, grabbed Liam while another guard pulled Aria out. They ran in a crouch as bullets zipped past, reaching the overturned SUV. 2 of Dante's men were down, bleeding. Aria dropped beside them immediately, checking pulses, assessing wounds with practiced efficiency. Gunshot to the shoulder. Through and through, apply pressure. You. She pointed to a guard. Give me your belt.
Now.
Her hands moved on instinct, years of training overriding fear. She stabilized the first man, then moved to the second. Sucking chest wound. Critical. I need a plastic wrapper, anything airtight. Someone handed her a credit card and tape. She sealed the wound, bought him time. All around them, Dante's men fought back with deadly precision. Dante himself moved like violence personified, each shot finding its target. But the enemy kept coming. Fall back to the tree line. Dante ordered. Protect the woman and child. They retreated in formation. Aria carrying the medical supplies, guards carrying wounded. They made it into the forest as the attackers closed in. Then, sirens. Police cars appeared on the highway, multiple units. The attackers scattered immediately, vanishing into the woods like ghosts. Was that your backup?
Aria gasped.
Dante's expression was dark.
No.
I didn't call the police. Which meant someone else had. But who? As the dust settled and paramedics arrived for the wounded, Marco approached Dante with a grim expression. Boss. Found this on one of the dead attackers. He held out a phone, screen still lit. On it was a message chain, coordinates, timing, and detailed information about their route. We have a leak, Marco said quietly. Someone in our organization told them where we'd be. Dante's face went cold with fury. But it was what came next that changed everything. Marco pulled something else from the attacker's vest, a small waterproof bag. Inside was a photograph and a handwritten note. The photo showed a young boy. Not Liam, but similar age, similar features. The note read, Vescary says the accountant's brat has a brother. Find him too. Aria's world tilted. That's impossible, she whispered. Liam doesn't have a brother. Marcus and I only had. But Dante was staring at the photo, with recognition dawning on his face. Angelo, he said hoarsely. He had a son. The woman he loved before she died. She gave birth in secret. The pieces clicked together with horrifying clarity. Marcus hadn't just found Angelo's evidence. He'd found Angelo's child. and hidden him where no one would think to look. With his own son. The underground bunker smelled like concrete and secrets. Dante's backup safe house sat beneath an abandoned warehouse, accessible only through a hidden elevator. Arya paced the sterile room, mind racing, while Liam slept on a cot in the corner, exhausted from the ambush. "Explain it to me again," her voice shook. Slowly. Dante sat at the metal table, the music box between them, Angelo's journal open beside it. Sophia, Angelo's girlfriend, disappeared 8 months before he died. We thought she'd left him. But according to these journal entries, he pointed to cramped handwriting. She was pregnant. Went into hiding to protect the baby from both our family and his FBI work. And she gave birth. 7 years ago.
A boy.
Named Matteo. Dante's jaw clenched. She died in childbirth. No family, no support system. The baby went into foster care under a false name. Arya's legs went weak. She sank into a chair. Marcus worked in family law before switching to accounting. He handled foster cases sometimes, pro bono work. He must have recognized the baby somehow. Maybe through Angelo's files, or maybe Sophia left information. Dante's gray eyes bore into hers. Your husband didn't just hide evidence. He hid Angelo's son. But where? Arya's voice rose. I would have known if Marcus adopted another child. I would have. Mommy? They both froze. Liam stood by the cot, rubbing his eyes, clutching the music box to his chest. He must have grabbed it before they fled. Hey, baby, Arya forced her voice calm. Did we wake you? I had a bad dream. Liam walked over, dragging his feet. About Daddy. Arya pulled him onto her lap. What about Daddy? He came to say goodbye. Before the car crash, Liam's small fingers traced the painted circus animals on the music box. He gave me this, and said I had to be brave. Had to take care of my brother. The room went silent. Your brother? Arya's heart hammered. Liam, you don't have a... He said I do. Said his name is Matteo and he lives far away, but someday I'd meet him. Liam looked up with those impossibly innocent eyes. He said this box would keep us both safe. That's why I can never lose it. Arya and Dante exchanged looks. Liam, Dante crouched to the boy's level. Did your daddy say anything else about the box? About what's inside? There's the music. Liam turned the key, and the tinny lullaby played. And the secret spot where he put the special computer thing. And he hesitated. And what, baby?
Arya encouraged gently.
And the other secret. The one that only opens with 2 keys. Liam held up the music box. Daddy said when I find Matteo, we have to open it together. Dante took the box carefully, examining it with new eyes. His fingers found something, a second hidden mechanism on the opposite side from where the USB drive had been. There's another compartment. His voice was tight.
Locked.
And it requires. 2 keys turned simultaneously. Arya finished. Marcus didn't just hide the evidence. He split it. Insurance, Dante said grimly. Victor can't get everything unless he has both boys. Arya's blood ran cold. Where is Matteo now? If Marcus placed him somewhere, we need to find him first. I've had people searching for 7 years. Dante's frustration bled through. Every foster record. Every adoption file. Angelo's son vanished completely. Because Marcus buried him deep. Arya's mind raced through possibilities. He was a forensic accountant. He knew how to hide things. And if he thought the Vescari were watching me, he wouldn't risk putting Matteo anywhere traceable to our family. Liam tugged Dante's sleeve. I know where Matteo is. Both adults stared at him. What? Arya's voice cracked. Daddy told me. He said when the bad music plays, I'll know how to find my brother. Liam pointed to the music box. But not the pretty music. The bad music. Dante turned the box over, examining every inch. His fingers found a scratch near the base, intentional, pointing to something. He pressed it. A different melody played, distorted, off-key, wrong. But within the dissonance, a pattern emerged. Musical notes that translated to numbers. Dante's fingers flew across his phone, decoding. Its coordinates. Latitude and longitude. He pulled up a map. The location marker dropped on a small town in upstate New York. St. Catherine's Home for Children. Arya read over his shoulder. An orphanage. Marcus hid Angelo's son in plain sight. Dante's expression was equal parts amazed and furious. In a Catholic orphanage under an assumed name. Vescari would never think to look there. It's too obvious, too humble. We have to get him, Arya stood, pulling Liam close. Before the Vescari figured out, it's a 12-hour drive. We'd have to, Dante stopped. His phone was ringing. Marco. He answered. What? Arya watched his face go from stone to ice. When? A pause. How many? Another pause. Understood. He hung up, and when he looked at Arya, she saw something she'd never seen before in Dante Moretti's eyes.
Fear.
St. Catherine's Orphanage was attacked 30 minutes ago. For casualties, all staff. The children were evacuated, but he swallowed hard. 7 kids are missing, including a boy matching Mateo's age and description. The music box slipped from Liam's hands, clattering to the floor. The bad music still played, tinny and wrong, filling the bunker with its distorted lullaby. And Arya understood with crystal clarity. Victor Vescari had just taken the one thing that made her son irreplaceable. His brother. The war room materialized within an hour. Dante's men transformed the bunker into an operations center. Computers, surveillance feeds, weapons laid out with military precision. Maps of the harbor district covered one wall, marked with red circles. Vescari's endgame is clear now. Dante pointed to the largest warehouse on the map. He has Mateo. He'll contact us demanding a trade, the boy for the music box and USB drive. Then we give it to him. Arya's voice was steel. We get Mateo back then. Then he kills all of us. Dante's gray eyes met hers. The evidence dies, the witnesses die, and Vescari walks away clean. Marco pulled up security footage on a screen. We've tracked the kidnapping vehicle to the harbor district. 3 possible locations where they'd hold hostages. He tapped each building. All Vescari properties. All heavily fortified. Arya studied the maps with growing dread. Armed guards. Multiple entry points. Innocent children caught in the crossfire. We can't just storm in, she said. Those kids, they're terrified already. More gunfire, more violence. You have a better idea? Dante's tone wasn't mocking, genuinely asking. Arya's mind raced back through her training. Emergency response protocols. Hostage situations. The disaster drills they'd run at the hospital. We need intelligence first. Exact location, number of guards, where the children are held. She turned to Marco. Can we get eyes inside? Not without alerting them. They'll have counter-surveillance. What about a distraction? Arya's thoughts crystallized. Something that forces them to move resources, creates an opening. Dante studied her with new appreciation. What kind of distraction? Me. Arya straightened her spine. I call Vescari. Offer to trade myself for the children. He wants me anyway. I'm the primary witness. The kids are just leverage. Absolutely not. Dante's voice was hard. You're not bait. I'm already bait. I've been bait for 6 years. Arya stepped closer. But this time, I choose the trap. I choose the terms. She has a point, Marco said quietly. Vescari wants her broken and compliant. If she offers surrender, he might take it. Dante's jaw clenched. And when he realizes it's a trap? That's where you come in. Arya met his eyes. You've spent 20 years learning how to breach impossible locations. I keep Vescari talking, buying time. You get those children out. For a long moment, Dante said nothing. Then, you said you had combat trauma training. Prove it. He gestured to Marco, who led them to the bunker's armory. Dante pulled out a tactical vest, checking its weight. Emergency responders in combat zones learn defensive tactics, Arya said. How to identify wounds under fire. How to maintain calm during chaos. She took the vest, adjusting straps with practiced ease. I worked 6 months in a field hospital during the Balkan conflict. Before Liam. Before I lost my license. Dante's expression shifted. You never mentioned that. You never asked what the town Jinx did before she became cursed. Bitterness crept into her voice. I came home to a quiet life. Got my nursing license.
Met Marcus.
Had a baby. Thought I was done with violence. But violence found you anyway. Story of my life. Arya checked the vest's pockets. Radio, medical supplies, emergency beacon. So, I might as well use what I learned. Dante pulled out a small handgun. Do you know how to use one? I know how to not shoot myself, Arya took it carefully. But I'm not a killer, Dante. I save lives. I don't take them, even to protect Liam? To protect Matteo? The question hung heavy between them. Arya thought of her son sleeping in the next room. Of a 7-year-old boy she'd never met, terrified and alone in Victor Vescary's hands. If I have to, she said quietly. God help me, if I have to. Respect gleamed in Dante's eyes. He spent the next hour teaching her basic defensive positions, how to communicate via radio emergency signals if things went wrong. When Vescary sees you, he'll want to break you, Dante said. Make you beg. Show you that he's won. Let him think that Arya's hands were steady now. Men like him never see women like me as threats. We're just mothers. Just nurses. Just victims. You're none of those things. Dante's hand briefly touched her shoulder. You're the reason Angelo died believing in goodness. You're the reason my brother smiled in his last hours. Arya's throat tightened. Then let's make sure he didn't die for nothing. By midnight, the plan was set. Dante would lead the assault team, 8 men, all ex-military, all absolutely loyal. They'd breach from the harbor side while Arya entered through the front. 1 hour, Dante said as they prepared to move out. I need you to buy us 1 hour inside that building. I'll give you 2. Arya checked her concealed radio one last time. Liam appeared in the doorway, Rose's hand on his shoulder. He'd insisted on saying goodbye. Mommy, are you gonna save Matteo? Arya knelt, pulling him close. Yes, baby. I'm going to bring your brother home. Daddy said you were the strongest person he knew. Liam's voice was small but fierce. He was right. As they loaded into vehicles, Arya felt the weight of what she was about to do. Walking into the enemy's stronghold. Facing the man who destroyed her life. But she'd been facing monsters for 6 years. This time, the monster wouldn't win. The warehouse district was a graveyard of rusted metal and broken dreams. Arya stepped out of the car alone, hands raised, the music box clutched visibly in her right hand. Searchlights pinned her like an insect under glass. 20 feet ahead, the warehouse doors stood open, a mouth waiting to swallow her whole. Her radio was hidden beneath her jacket, volume low. Dante's voice whispered in her ear. We're in position. 30 seconds behind you. Keep him talking. Men in tactical gear emerged from the warehouse, 6 of them, weapons raised. They patted her down roughly, found the music box, but missed the radio pressed against her spine. Amateur hour, she thought. Dante's men would never make that mistake. They dragged her inside. The warehouse was cavernous, shipping containers stacked like building blocks, harsh fluorescent lights creating pockets of shadow. And in the center, sitting in a leather chair like some twisted throne, was Victor Vescary. He was smaller than she'd imagined. Mid-50s, expensive suit, cruel eyes that held no warmth. 7 children sat on the floor nearby, guarded by 2 men with assault rifles. They looked terrified but unharmed. Arya scanned their faces. There, a boy with dark curls and gray eyes that reminded her painfully of Dante. Matteo. The famous Jinx. Victor's voice was cultured, almost pleasant. I've waited years for this meeting. Let the children go. Arya forced her voice steady. You have what you want.
Doi. Victor stood, approaching slowly.
I have a music box, but my people tell me it requires 2 keys to open fully. Where is the other boy? Safe. Far from here. Arya met his eyes. Let these children go, and I'll tell you where to find him. Victor's smile was a razor. You're not in a position to negotiate. He nodded to one of his men, who grabbed Matteo and pressed a gun to the boy's head. Arya's heart stopped. Now, Victor said pleasantly. Tell me where. Glass shattered overhead. Dante's team crashed through the skylights on rappel lines, moving with lethal precision. Gunfire erupted, controlled bursts, tactical shots. Victor's men scrambled for cover. Arya dove for the children.
Down.
All of you down. She threw herself over Mateo and two others, shielding them with her body as bullets flew. Training took over. She counted shots, tracked positions, kept the kids calm with whispered reassurances. It's okay. You're safe. Close your eyes. Dante moved through the chaos like a demon. 2 men dropped before they could fire. 3 more fell trying to flank him. He was terrifying and beautiful and utterly unstoppable. Marco's team secured the perimeter, evacuating children in groups of 2. Arya handed them off, keeping Mateo close. Victor tried to run. Dante caught him at the warehouse door, slamming him against the wall with bone-crushing force. You're done. You think you've won?
Victor spat blood.
I own this city. Judges, police, politicians, they're all mine. I'll walk by morning. Not this time. Arya stepped forward, holding up her phone. I've been streaming this entire thing.
Live.
To every news outlet on the coast. Victor's face went white. 10,000 people just watched you threaten children. Arya continued, her voice cold. Watched your men attack us. Watched everything. Sirens wailed outside. Multiple agencies. FBI. State police. Federal marshals. Dante had called them all before they'd even entered the building. The evidence on the USB drive? Dante said quietly. Already uploaded to Interpol, the FBI, and 3 international crime agencies. Every transaction. Every weapons deal. Every name in your network. He leaned closer. You're finished. Victor's expression crumbled into rage, then fear, then nothing. Federal agents flooded in, securing the scene. Arya held Mateo as paramedics checked him over. The boy looked up at her with Angelo's gray eyes. Are you my brother's mom? He whispered. Tears blurred Arya's vision.
Yes.
And you're safe now. I promise. Outside, the scene was bedlam. News crews, cameras, reporters shouting questions. Arya emerged with Mateo's hand in hers, Dante at her side. Flashbulbs exploded like lightning. Miss Chun, is it true you've been targeted by organized crime? Miss Chun, what about the curse? The accidents? Miss Chun, are you involved with Dante Moretti? Dante stepped forward, his hand protective on Arya's back. And before the cameras, before the world, he kissed her cheek, just like he had that first day in the alley. But this time, when he spoke, his voice carried absolute authority. This woman saved 7 innocent children tonight. She risked everything to expose corruption and stop a weapons deal that would have killed hundreds. His gray eyes swept the crowd. She is not cursed. She is not a Jinx. She is strength personified. She is courage. And anyone who treated her otherwise should be ashamed. The crowd went silent. Arya felt something break inside her. Years of shame, of believing the lies, of carrying the weight of a curse that never existed. She straightened her spine and spoke directly to the cameras. My name is Arya Chun. For 6 years, I've been called a Jinx. I've been blamed for disasters I didn't cause. I've been isolated, rejected, and targeted. Her voice strengthened. But I survived. My son survived. And tonight, we help stop evil. So no, I'm not cursed. I never was. The reporters exploded with questions, but Arya was done. She turned away from the cameras, toward where Liam waited with Rosa, his eyes wide with pride. Mommy. He ran to her and she caught him, holding him and Mateo both. Finally, she was free. 3 weeks later, the ocean had never looked so peaceful. Arya stood on the cliffside terrace of her new home, not Dante's mansion, but a modest house perched where sea met sky, close enough to his estate for safety, but far enough to be her own. The morning sun painted everything gold, and for the first time in 6 years, she breathed without fear tightening her chest. Mommy. Mateo's teaching me Italian curse words. She turned to see both boys racing through the garden, Liam laughing, Matteo grinning mischievously. 7-year-old Matteo had Angelo's features. The same sharp intelligence, the same unexpected warmth. He'd been quiet those first days, traumatized and confused, but Liam's boundless energy had slowly drawn him out. Brothers. They'd taken to each other like they'd known each other their whole lives. Maybe in some way they had. Marcus and Angelo had both tried to protect them, across death and distance. No curse words before breakfast. Arya called, but she was smiling. Rosa emerged from the kitchen, shaking her head fondly. Boys will be boys. I made pancakes, the good kind, not like Dante attempts. I heard that Dante appeared behind Rosa, carrying grocery bags. He'd been staying close these past weeks, officially for security, but Arya suspected it was more than that. He'd become part of their strange, broken, healing family. The town had tried to apologize. Mayor, neighbors, former employers, all suddenly wanting to make amends now that Arya was famous, vindicated, and under the protection of Dante Moretti. She'd declined every apology. I don't need their guilt, she'd told Dante. I need a future where my sons are safe and free.
So she'd left. No dramatica enfrentación, no bitter speeches.
Just packed her life and moved forward. The Vescary Syndicate had collapsed spectacularly. Victor and 17 associates were awaiting trial on federal charges. 3 senators had resigned. A federal judge was under investigation. The weapons deal had been stopped with days to spare. Angelo and Marcus would have been proud. Over breakfast, Matteo pushed eggs around his plate nervously. Can I ask something? Always, Arya said gently. The social worker said. She said I could be adopted. Officially, his gray eyes, so like Dante's, so like his father's, were cautiously hopeful. Would you? If I wanted. Arya's throat tightened. Matteo, look at me.
He did.
You are my son. Biology doesn't change that. Angelo was a good man who loved you enough to hide you from monsters. Marcus was a good man who protected you with his last breath. And now you're here, with us, where you belong. She reached across the table, taking his hand. If you want to be adopted, we'll make it happen. But you're already family. That's not a question. Matteo's eyes filled with tears. Okay.
Yeah.
I want that. Liam threw his arms around his brother. Best day ever. Dante watched the scene with an expression Arya had learned to read, longing mixed with contentment. He'd lost his chance at family once. Now he orbited theirs, protecting but never quite joining. After breakfast, while the boys played on the beach below with Rosa watching, Arya found Dante on the terrace. You don't have to keep your distance, you know, she said quietly. I'm a criminal, Arya. My world is violence and corruption. His voice was rough. You deserve better than that shadow. You saved us. Multiple times she stepped closer. And these past weeks you've been there, teaching Matteo to swim, helping Liam with homework, making terrible pancakes. Rosa's right. They are terrible. Dante, she waited until he looked at her. I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm not asking you to change who you are. But if you want to be part of this. She gestured to the house, the boys' laughter floating up from the beach. Then be part of it. Stop hovering in the margins. I don't know how to do this, he admitted. The normal parts. The family parts. Neither do I. We'll figure it out together. Arya's hand found his. Partnership, remember? Not ownership. Equal terms. Dante's fingers tightened around hers. Equal terms. Below, Liam's voice rang out. Dante, come build sandcastles. You promised. Something cracked in Dante's careful control. He looked at Arya, asking permission without words. She smiled.
Go.
Your sons are waiting. The words hit him visibly. Your sons. He descended the steps to the beach, and within minutes, all 3 of them were knee-deep in sand, building an elaborate castle with towers and moats. Matteo explained architectural principles with Angelo's earnest intelligence. Liam just wanted to add more flags. Dante, feared Mafia boss, killer, criminal mastermind, helped them build their castle like it was the most important thing in the world. Maybe it was. Aria's phone buzzed. A message from the Interpol agent who'd coordinated the takedown. Weapons network completely dismantled. 47 arrests across 6 countries. Children's trafficking ring shut down. You saved more lives than you'll ever know. Thank you. She looked out at the ocean, at her sons playing, at the man who'd chosen to protect them against all logic and self-interest. For 6 years, she'd been called a jinx, a curse, bad luck personified. But standing here, watching her family laugh in the sunlight, Arya understood the truth. She wasn't cursed. She'd never been cursed. She'd been tested, and she'd survived with her heart intact, her strength proven, her capacity for love undiminished. The town had been wrong. The whispers had been lies. And now, finally, she was free to write her own story. Liam looked up, waving frantically. Mommy,
Come see.
we made it as tall as Dante. Arya walked down to the beach, leaving behind the weight of the past. The ocean breeze carried salt and promise. Her feet sank into warm sand. And when Dante looked at her, really looked at her, with something deeper than protection, warmer than duty, she saw the future. Not perfect, not easy, but theirs.
Dad.
The tower's falling, Matteo shouted, and Dante moved to stabilize it. Arya's heart stuttered.
Dad.
Matteo had called him Dad. Dante's hands froze for just a moment, then continued building, but his eyes were bright. Liam grabbed Arya's hand, pulling her into their circle. You have to help. Families build castles together. So she knelt in the sand beside them, her sons, her partner, her impossible, beautiful, hard-won family, and helped build something new. Something that couldn't be destroyed by lies or violence or fear. Something real. The jinx was gone. The curse was broken. And Arya Chen, survivor, mother, warrior, was finally, truly home.